Hello everybody, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis with a Warhammer Fantasy discussion / news and rumours video. I'm joined today by Kieran, who's actually doing the recording, which is why my voice probably sounds very clunky.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, Kieran is recording because my video editor has conked out on me. I am very sorry, but it just means that I can't do codex analysis in the same way, and Kieran probably is doing most of our editing for a bit.
So expect it all to go downhill.
Yeah, expect content to basically just be the sit and talk stuff I did in the past before I actually learned how to edit videos. At least for a while until I can sort out an actual editing setup. Right, so today we are, as I said, discussing Warhammer Fantasy because End Times 4 has been and gone, which was End Times Thankwall, Skaven. Yeah. And we've had a lot of solid rumour regarding End Times 5, which is Archaon.
Alright, okay, yeah. Oh, so the actual Chaos now.
We're back with Chaos.
Yeah, okay.
The Lord of the End Times. And I think, I don't have a timeline to hand, but I know there's been a timeline of the End Times published. So, if you want to go and have a look at that, I'll try and find it, put a link in the description, you can have a read. And I think it's all coming down to this. I don't know every in and out of the lore, but I know bits about Glotkin, I know bits about Malekith, I know bits about Thankwall. I know, for example, that a dwarf slayer is now the incarnate of fire.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
the dwarves magic?
The Slayer King, Ungrim Michael.
Yeah.
He's the incarnate of fire now.
Well, that's cool.
He's a dwarf.
It's still cool.
He's the incarnate of a magic lord. Am I missing something?
Well, the dwarves' gods were eaten. So, I don't know whether that was to do with their anti-magiciness.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I'd have to do a bit more deep digging, but I know there's been a fair bit of stuff going on in Carragate Peaks. I think half of it got blown up.
Yeah, that didn't go well.
I think Belagar is dead. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Thankwall has made an alliance with Archaon.
Yep.
And every Slan has died except Mazdamundi. In order to do the lifty-uppy thing, which we're going to actually discuss in a bit more detail as we go.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that's happened in regards to fantasy is a list of rumours stating Fantasy 9th edition. Now, this one has been one that's been coming for quite a while, Fantasy 9th edition, but what these rumours say are...
It's not fantasy.
It looks very weird, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to try and discuss it as best we can. So, I think the best way to start is probably with the End Times, and how has the End Times affected the fantasy universe to play? Not the lore, to play. How has the End Times affected things?
So the biggest thing to start with is the 50% Lord allowance.
Yes.
Which means you can actually field the new characters they've brought out in games that aren't ridiculous.
Yeah, so like Nagash costs, what, 1,000 points?
Yeah, so you can field him in a 2,000 point game.
Which is hilarious. And you could take people like Malekith as the Eternity King, and you can take all sorts of big powerful characters. Karlfran's Ascendant, Alariel, Thankwall Bone Ripper, Screech Vermin King.
Giles the Breton. Are there rules for him?
The Breton's alive.
Yeah, because he was the Green Knight.
Isn't he? He's the Green Knight. The Green Knight revealed who he was.
Yeah.
That was it, yeah. The Green Knight tale is over. Spoilers. Actually, yeah, I should probably whack a massive spoiler alert on the front of this video, because it's basically all spoilers.
It is, but, you know, it's not like we're ruining anything.
You've had, most people, at least with Nagash and Glotkin, will have had a chance to read them by now.
Yeah.
And what about the new magic? I mean, there's been or the new army books. Like, they've been smashing army books together.
Well, it's gone back to 3rd ed, is it?
I don't know.
Like, army composition-wise, you've got... Because I think Britannia and Empire separated out of something prior to that in 3rd ed into 2 separate kingdoms. Okay. Same with the Undead, which have both been now re-amalgamated into what they are now. The Elves, I think, have always been separate. No, they might... Well, you know, back in the very start, they weren't separate because they were just Elves, so they've gone back to that. Lizard Men aren't amalgamated with anything because they're kind of gone.
Yeah. What about Skaven? Where did they come
from? They, like Ogres, were, you know, an internal separate release.
Okay.
And...
I think Beastmen have been smashed back
together. Yeah, Chaos has all been smashed back together.
Yeah, so like Demons of Chaos, Beasts of Chaos, which became Beastmen, is now all back under the one Chaos banner, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's, again, 3rd, 4th ed.
Yeah. Now, is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, you don't have to play the armies. You can still play Tomb Kings.
True.
You can still play Vampire Counts. You can still play Britannia. Or you can play a combination of the two. So, rather than looking at it as now there are 6 armies, or however many amalgamated ones there are, look at it more that now there are 20. Because you've got an additional 6.
Yeah, that's a good way of
Rather
looking at
than-
it, actually. That's a very good way of looking at it. Because you don't have to play the undead army. You can play
Vampire Counts,
Tomb
play
Kings
Tomb Kings.
if you wish. Yeah, that's I didn't think of it that way. That's good. What about all these new insane characters like Nagash, Malekith, the Eternity King, and Alariel, the Radiant, now being the incarnate of it? I think it's light, not life. I think it's light.
Yeah. Because the Lady of the Lake is the incarnate of life, isn't she?
I didn't know the Lady of the Lake had any rules.
I don't know. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe I've made that up.
Right.
She's got her
it
own
doesn't
law,
matter.
so it wouldn't make sense.
But it doesn't matter about who the incarnates are, but are these big, overpowered characters too overpowered, or do they still fit?
I don't think they're too bad. I don't think, as far as I'm aware, anything's got better than a 3+ ward save.
I think Malekith has, like, magic resistance to go with it as well, so...
Yeah.
No, wrong. He has a ward save, but he has a 2+ ward against non-magic, I think.
Okay. But there's the 2 ways to take these big characters out, is war machines, which,
Most.
well, yeah. Dwarves win here because they have magic war machines, so not a problem.
Yeah.
High elves, you've got multiple wound things, with your bolt throwers. Ogres have
And
multiple wound things.
The other obvious one is magic.
And then your other obvious one is magic to take them out with. So
A lot of these big characters are also big spellcasters. So people like Nagash and Teclis, who's now got a new lease of life,
yeah,
Malekith, are all absolutely massive spellcasters.
but they are around 1,000 points.
Yeah.
So
But is it that the only way to counter a big character is with another big character? Is my question.
I wouldn't think so, because it's this. If you see it as playing monsters in smaller games, the easy way to sort of combat them is just to target them. If for instance, in a 1,000 point game, you bring a dragon against me playing goblins, I've usually got a horde of night goblins I can just stick in front of it. Sure, it'll munch through them eventually, but with steadfast and rank bonuses, they ought to stay for a while.
True.
So
it's then though. What about the characters that don't get stuck in? The characters like Teclis, or even like Malekith, who is a powerful spellcaster or a combat monster, depending on what you want from him.
but then he's a powerful spellcaster. Don't get me wrong. Is he level 5 or?
I think he's 4 or 5, yeah.
But people
Warhammer
play level
Fantasy.
4 or 5 spellcasters anyway, so you're paying extra to have him on a dragon, killing things. When if you wanted to use him as a spellcaster, he doesn't need to be. The one I have a problem with is Teclis, because he is a focus magic character with no combat ability still.
As a result, there's no way to get at it. Alariel is another example.
Yeah. I haven't played against them though, so I don't know all that well.
We haven't been able to pick up the End Times books and actually play with them, but I've seen people doing back reps with End Times rules. I'm sure Mini Wargaming's Old World War series all use End Times rules now. I don't think they've used any of the incarnates yet, or any of the big guys yet, but if one does come out in the interim between us recording this and us uploading this, I'll put a link in the description to go and see how they impact the meta.
I think the one thing that will be a problem is for armies like Orcs and Goblins. Well, maybe not now, the 5th ones are coming out, but some armies don't have any of these big characters.
Yeah.
And Beastmen, for example, aren't going to be covered again.
No, they're in the Chaos list now.
Because they've already been covered. Well, they were in the first one, weren't they? Because they fought against the Empire and got slaughtered. Second one, sorry. They're not getting a big character. They're not getting upgrades to even Malagor the Dark Omen. He's not being upgraded. So they're stuck with no war machines, very little magic, and no big characters to take them on.
I think this will lead on to the Fantasy 9 thing, I think.
Yeah.
So,
but
just before we move
suppose,
on from the end,
to combat that, they are now with Chaos, so you can take other things.
People like Archaon and the Glockin.
Yeah.
Now, End Times 5, I don't have every solid rumour under the sun. What I do have is one model rumour, which is apparently going to be a brand new Bloodthirst kit in plastic. Kieran just made the most weird face I've ever seen.
So happy. Not about Bloodthirster kit, obviously, but because Greater Demon kit in plastic is what every player, who people who don't even play Chaos have wanted, since forever.
Yeah,
Because,
and it will work in 40k as well.
Yeah, because it's converting metal models was terrifying.
I can't even convert Finecast.
Yeah, converting Finecast is not nice because you've paid so much for a model and you don't want to ruin it. So unless you're good at converting, you won't have a bash. But when it's plastic and you've got lots of additional, because I'm assuming there'll be additional heads, arms,
I
and
think
whatnot.
there might be options to make some named character like
Scarbrand.
I'm hearing Angrath or Scarbrand.
Yeah. Well,
I'm thinking it's going to be Angrath actually.
That's going to put Fordworld out of business, isn't it? Because Fordworld has a huge Angrath model.
Well,
not out of business. You know what I mean.
To be fair, Forge World's 40 fantasy range is not the wise. Warhammer Forge is not huge, and they make the really big stuff. And
I
their main income is through probably the Titans and the Horus Heresy range, I reckon now.
Yeah.
And Canicum army.
It just does seem odd for them to sort of double make a model that's already been made.
Stomper?
Yeah, I suppose.
Baneblade?
Okay, you win.
All the Baneblade variants.
Yeah.
So they have been getting bigger and bigger in GW, taking stuff off the Forge World. Oh, Jesus, I don't know what that is. Right, okay. I'll sort that in a minute. Anyway, and I think Grimgore Ironhide was mentioned. And for those who don't know, Grimgore Ironhide is the last big war boss alive. All the other ones are historical characters like Gorbad.
Yeah, Gorbad Ironclaw. Oh no, there's no. Wurzag is still alive.
Oh yeah,
he's a shaman.
He could become the incarnate of the War.
Yeah. That well, he is. Kind of anyway.
Yeah, he's the prophet of the War already.
Yeah.
Funny, I say prophet of the War and I say
Ghazghkull.
But anyway, that's just probably just what we play. I don't know much about End Times Archaon. I'll try and put some links in the description so you can go and have a full look for yourself on Bell Lost Souls and Spiky Bits, who I'm hoping that I can do some well with down
I'm
the line.
assuming, is it Belakor, the Demon Prince?
Belakor.
Yeah, I'm assuming he'll feature in it quite heavily.
The first Demon Prince, yeah, probably. Though, if he doesn't get a model, someone's going to cry.
He's got a model.
No, but it's ancient. It's ancient.
Yeah, but so is, Tyrion's model's ancient.
But Tyrion got redone.
Did he get redone?
He didn't get redone for Kane. I'm sure he got redone for the last High Elf Codex.
Alright, okay.
I don't know. As I say, I'm only an 8th edition fantasy player, so I don't know much of the history behind it. So I don't know exactly how old Tyrion is. But he does look quite old, to be fair.
Yeah, the one that was used, I don't know, to be fair. I don't know whether we've got a new model for him. I think it's still the same old one.
Probably. I mean, I did get it wrong, actually. You know, I said about the Avatar.
Yeah.
You don't use the Avatar. He's still cavalry.
Alright. But
So
he's just got a massive, he's got a
as the
ridiculous
Avatar.
profile.
Ridiculous profile and the Widowmaker, yeah.
So because he's still cavalry, does he get 1+ to his ridiculous armor save? Or is that included?
I'm assuming that's probably included.
Yeah.
He's probably got a 1+ armor save anyway that can't be
Alright, yeah, I suppose that'd be right.
Apparently he's a combat beast, but he probably gets outclassed by the other characters because he's only a combat beast.
Yeah.
And he's cavalry, so he doesn't have all the monster bonuses that come with it.
Well, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? Like, when we play, certainly, we won't take combat lords.
No, I take wizard
unless
lords.
we've already got a wizard lord taken.
Yeah, like, I take a noble, but I won't take a prince unless he's got put them on a dragon.
I'll take a bruiser, but not a tyrant.
Because Slaughtermaster.
Yeah.
I think that's a whole trend in fantasy, is that the wizard is more powerful
Well,
than the brute.
it's because it's not just character based anymore. Force multipliers are much more valuable than like a single beat stick.
Yeah, yeah, I can agree with that. Right, now the bit that's going to make many Warhammer Fantasy players cry.
Or not.
Or not. I don't know what you're going to react to this. So this is from Bell of Lost Souls, and the title of the link is Warhammer Fantasy Battles 9th Explodes. That is the title of the article. You've probably seen this already, because it's been out for quite a while. It's been out for at least a couple of weeks, so you may have seen this already. So, this is originally posted by somebody called Birdie, And it says that 9th edition is to pick up where the End Times leaves off in Fluff, plus a couple of 100 years or so to reboot the setting. So, after Archaon End Times, I think the End Times will come to an end as a series, and then they'll fast forward some time, and we'll get to now, Fantasy 9.
Yeah.
And it says here the Warhammer world gets shattered on a dimensional level during the climax of the End Times. No more map of the old world, it's now little bubbles of reality where pockets of civilization try desperately to eke a living before the next collision with another bubble, which may be full of chaos. To address the problem of how my Tomb Kings of Khemri are fighting against Wood Elves and Athel the Red, not that I get the impression either of those will still exist, but you get the idea. New faction, heavily armoured, religious, good human warriors fighting with the power of the gods, Warhammer Space Marines, basically. Karl Franz Ascended seems to be the prototype or precursor for this concept, as far as I can tell. And another person by the same name says that 9th edition will have 6 factions. Model diversity cut in half shelf space. New world and new age, so current factions and lore are recognizable. Each new faction has like 3 core units that will always be on the shelf. Much faster releases of stuff, mainly characters and special units of 2 to 5 fancy models such as the Morghasts that have their own rules right in the box, so are not dependent on a static army book. Many of these non-core models are only available for a limited time, say 6 months to a year, so they don't take up shelf space forever and ever. Many existing models are not usable. We can expect the next edition of Fantasy to throw everything up in the air. The whole End Times move has been to wean people onto a whole new take on the Warhammer world, and it's going to start with every army being chaosified. We can expect army playstyles and appearance to change quite dramatically, and there will be a whole load of new models being released early on to tie everything together. This is called a stir back at GWHQ, as there are a lot of people behind the scenes, some of which are very well known, who don't like the changes. I've also been told that the models due to be released are some of the best to date. 9th, or whatever is next in Fantasy, coming 2015 summer. The new factions plus future releases after this point for 5 existing factions, which plus this new one, this Space Marines-ish one, will make 6, but I think there will be possibly more. Some of it has been translated from Spanish, so some of it might not be perfect. But, yeah, what? What?
2 things first.
One,
sounds a lot like War Machine.
okay.
2, 8th edition rules still exist. Everyone who plays Fantasy now has an 8th ed rulebook.
Pretty
You
much,
have
yeah.
the 8th ed models. Think
Yeah.
of it as no more releases and a new system being brought out, rather than your system being destroyed and changed. You can still play 8th ed Fantasy,
Yeah,
just not in
I reckon,
tournaments.
I think what they might actually try and do is, if they do some 9th edition campaigns, if 9th edition is what they title it, they might do some historical campaigns, possibly.
Yeah, but then, is it going to get phased out like... Because I know in White Dwarf they used to have specialist games. And will they end up phasing it out in a similar way to that?
Well, if they stop financing all the old ranges, then yeah, I reckon it could go the way of games like Blood Bowl and other things. What do you mean similar to War Machine? I don't play War Machine, so...
I don't either. But from what I've seen, it's a much smaller game.
Yeah.
Which seems to be what is going in, because you're not going to want to play, 10,000, like 3,000 point games where you've got 3 different unit types.
No.
But
True.
if these unit types are on their own as smaller models, which makes sense in the setting of little bubbles of reality, so it could just be a little village or whatever.
Yeah.
You'll end up with a smaller game that's more compact, but kind of a more personal feel.
Yeah.
And then, you will have your basic things, but it will be your force multipliers again, your heroes and your special, weird kind of wacky
The other thing
units.
that got to me is these specialist units will only be available for 6 months to a year in order to save shelf space. Now, if you get into Fantasy and they drop a really badass unit, and then your friend who you convince to join next year, that model's not available anymore, are they at a disadvantage now?
No. Unless they're in a tournament, in my opinion. Because you will be able to, if the rules are not copyrighted and they're just put in a box with them, someone will stockpile the rules on the internet and they'll be there.
And they're just getting the ones.
Well, you just convert. or scratch
Okay.
bit or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
you can proxy, you can do whatever, you can make your own if you really want to. I don't think it's a bad idea, but
But
I don't know. Like, I suppose if they're bringing out lots and lots of things all the time, they are going to have hundreds of redundant models because they can bring out a model, you know, make a set number of them and it not sell, or they can make a set number of them and it sell massively. But if the set number of them is, you know, set to a certain period of time as well, then they're not
yeah.
going to make as big a losses.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'll buy into that. I think the other thing that I want to mention is how are they going? Like the winds of magic are blowing crazy because I know that the vortex on Ultiman has been destroyed. Ultiman is gone.
Yeah, it's something.
So, it, who or what is capable of shattering the world on a dimensional level?
Two theories. One, Grecius fell over.
Who?
Grecius Goldtooth, the king of the ogres.
Uh,
The other one is that at the end, so there were polar gates, weren't there? And the one in the north has collapsed. There is no
Okay.
mention at all of the polar gate in the south.
I didn't even know there was one.
Well, in the Lizardmen fluff,
Yeah.
the old ones built polar gates. The
Yeah,
plural.
the north is where
there are two
chaos.
poles, and the north one collapsed. It was where chaos come from. There is no mention at all of the south polar gate. So whether Archon and everyone goes around to that side and destroys the other one, which causes the Earth to collapse in on itself, or the Warhammer world, sorry, that could potentially be it. I don't know.
I was more along the lines of Mazda Mundi, Teclis, and all the big magic casters in one big magic battle going on during the final battle, and it just blows up on them.
Yeah, that could happen too.
I honestly don't know, but it sounds like these little bubbles, or whatever they are going to be drifting around in what?
The warp? God knows.
Yeah, that's my theory. Is what if they're putting the fantasy world into an equivalent of the war? They're like planets in the Eye of Terror. I mean, obviously, it's not like the Eye of Terror because we're not having fantasy dropped into 40k. No, thank you.
What you think?
But
What if Tazaran the Infinite has got them all in a little what are they where they keep the Catan?
Tesseract shot.
Yes. What if they're in a Tesseract vault?
Oh, that would be hilarious. That would be
Sorted
hilarious. I don't know. It sounds complete nonsense. I don't know what's possessed GW to do it. I mean, they do say fantasy is a smaller game based on 40k. That I'm not going to deny. It's a smaller game.
Hmm.
It's older, and possibly it's got less uniqueness. Like, you think of 40k, what sort of game can you think of that is like 40k? With that sort of setting and those sorts of factions, what is like 40k?
Yeah, there's not a lot.
Exactly.
Other than
Fantasy.
things that have copied 40k.
Yeah, or you look at fantasy, a lot of that is ripped out of Tolkien.
Yeah.
Just elven dwarvish disagreements, even, crying out loud.
Well, half of it's the old Dungeons and Dragons stuff that Games Workshop used to own the rights to.
Exactly, so a lot of fantasy has got its roots and a lot of copy stuff out of other games. So maybe GW, after what's happened with Chapter House, which is a big legal suit they had, is trying to ensure its IP, its intellectual property, by making a whole new game out of the old universe.
The thing is, though, fantasy was accessible for those reasons. You know, I played fantasy before I played 40k because it had things I recognised in it, and a couple of things I didn't, which were interesting. You know, you sit down and you can see some dwarves fighting some elves, and anyone that comes in, you know, oh, are they? They're elves, they're dwarves. All right, okay, that's fine. What are they? Well, they're space marines, and these ones here are Necrons. What
Yeah,
are
okay,
they?
yeah.
You know, it's a lot more unique, but I think at the same time, because it's so unique, it's a little bit less accessible.
Possibly. I mean, I think fantasy's got to be careful. I think whatever GW do, they can't leave fantasy as it is. Fantasy has needed to change, and the end times has done that.
Yeah.
But the problem is, when you get to the end of the end times, you get the end.
Yeah.
So they had to do something.
Unless they pull a big Horus Heresy thing. Because if you think
The
about it,
Horus Heresy thing?
well, the end of 30k, if 30k was a game to come out first,
Yeah.
the end of that would be the end of the Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
So after the Horus Heresy, we still know the universe of 40k exists.
Yes.
So are they just going to pull some stuff like that
No, but that
in
would be
reverse?
like... The thing is, treating it as a Horus Heresy scenario is like saying the Horus Heresy ends by the Emperor killing Horus and then Terra blowing up.
Well, yes
That's
and
what
no,
this
I
feels
suppose.
like. I know what you're saying with the whole 30k to 40k comparison, but the fact that everything basically stayed the same between 30k and 40k, just we had a few changes in the divvying up of the legions and no longer having an emperor. Everything else that happened was added in later. The
Yeah.
Necrons weren't around. The Eldar, well, they were sort of. Orcs were just there. Tau didn't exist.
Yeah.
Tyranids weren't there. So a lot of the stuff in 40k is new to 40k, regardless of 30k.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I mean. Our race is going to be wiped out, and whatnot, and you're going to sort of discover new things in what is like the area of realness surrounding the. Oh, God knows.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
It sounds like an analogy for something.
Yeah, it's yeah. It's like every realm becomes a little island of
Soap
paradises.
bubble. Yeah.
Yeah. Weird.
What I
Weird.
don't get
But
about this whole thing is how are the undead going to work?
yeah,
They're I'm assuming they're obviously going to be in it because they've gone to great lengths for Nagash to be there. They could have almost ignored Nagash and had him still dead. He doesn't
they could have
feature
had
in
Mantis
the
fail.
end times, other than because they put him in.
Yeah, Mantis could have failed.
Yeah. So by having the undead as a faction in their own bubble, or multiple bubbles, or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, in Kemri or Sylvania or whatever.
Or yeah. In order for them to still exist, they've got to purposefully crash into another bubble in order to collect more dead.
Yes.
So are these bubbles going to be steerable?
But the thing is, look at the orcs.
Yeah.
The orcs live to fight, am I right?
Yeah, but they can fight themselves. That's
Oh, what I mean by that is, if the orcs have no one to fight, they fight themselves. You just said that.
Yeah.
Eventually, the orcs will fight themselves into nothing.
Yes.
Same with the ogres.
Yeah, but with eat.
And Skaven.
Replace eat with fight, and you're fine.
And Skaven.
Yeah.
These little bubbles of races will destroy each other.
Yeah.
Or destroy themselves before they crash into anything else.
Yeah.
I think that's something they'll have to sort out. They might have to. They did say though that the law was going to be completely unrecognizable.
Yeah.
So I think they will have to retcon everything and start from basically the ground up. Literally, they will just take the factions of fantasy and build them from the ground up. That's the only way I can look at it.
So this begs the question: other than the sort of pious human nun people,
The new Marines, you mean?
yeah, what's going to be in it?
What do you mean?
Well, what factions will exist? You know, is
Well, we look at the factions that have been
speculations.
smashed together.
Yeah.
You have the undead.
Yeah.
The elves.
Mhm.
The humans.
Yeah.
As a race.
Yeah.
You may have a separate one for the superhumans.
Possibly.
Space. You have.
I'm banking on them being on. Hopefully, if not, I shall create one. There being some sort of interstellar pirate race thing. Think about it. There's all these bubbles. Some race, dwarves, Skaven, something technologically or magically gifted, has to at some point create something to pierce this bubble and go floating out to other places to collect things.
Either that, or stick any crashing bubbles together.
Yeah.
To create a second world.
Yeah.
Out of all these drifting
Well,
bubbles.
that's the other possible thing that could happen. Is you could have all these bubbles, and that could be the history period. The 100 years history doesn't have to be this new bubble-based game. You could end up with like it recongealing into Pangaea or something.
Pangaea being the original continent that was formed on the Earth for those who don't know their history.
Yeah. It's not history, is it?
History, biology,
Prehistory.
General studies.
So, and then that, of course, if all the realms are shattered into hundreds of tiny bits and then recongealed, they're not going to be in the same places. So you'll have pockets of dwarves, for instance, ending up,
In Athel the Red.
yeah, or other, wherever.
Or a Slan Temple in Khemri.
Yeah, except the Slan are all dead.
Yeah, there's so, like, we're going to have to wait until summer, until we get an official confirmation, and we will have to see what End Times Archaon brings, because obviously, whatever End Times Archaon says is basically the setup, it's basically the prequel to whatever GW decides to do with Fantasy in the summer.
Yeah. But you can still play the prequel. No one will stop you. Just because Games Workshop doesn't endorse it anymore doesn't mean it can't be played.
Do not let Fantasy go the way of Blood Bowl.
Well, yeah, that's just, there's the way of looking at it, isn't it? Everyone's kind of panicking, being on, oh crap, it's not going to exist anymore. The models will. If you are that into it, you will have an army.
Yeah.
You will know someone who plays it. You will have a rule book.
Yeah.
They are the 3 things you need to play. You don't need Games Workshop releasing more models. You know, the paints will still be there. That's all you need.
But, and actually, to be fair, if you play these new factions, you can still take the new models and put them in, and just say they got caught in a time warp or something.
Plus, on a slightly offshoot, what is it? Who's the people that make Dreadzone and Deadball even?
Oh,
Mantic. Their range, they do a lot of similar factions. So even if Games Workshop stops producing the models, I know they do orcs, they do ogres, they do elves, they do dwarves, they do Skaven, they do undead.
It's not under the same name.
Yeah, not under the same name, but they have models that will represent most of the things you own, and they're cheaper.
You can still buy them from Mantic.
Yeah, so you can be like, well, fine. If you're not going to endorse it, I'll use my rules and their models, and it'll all go fine because the base size is almost the same.
Or the only thing that will happen is the tournament scene will die off.
Yeah.
Unless people organise their own, which again, the onus is on the players, I think.
Yeah.
This one. Right. Anything else to discuss regarding Fantasy? Because there's a couple of bits of 40k I want to talk about briefly.
Nothing regarding rumours for Fantasy at all. Just a couple of things that we might do with Fantasy in the future. We'll probably cover that in another video because I need to think it out.
Okay. Right. Well, this is just a brief bit of 40k that will probably make Kieran scream. Codex Sisters of Battle.
So happy at that.
Right.
Although a little bit annoyed as well.
Annoyed? Why?
Because I got my Sisters of Battle, I don't have many, I got a couple of them off eBay.
Yeah.
With the intention of casting them to create more.
Yeah.
And now they're releasing them in plastic, months after I've done that. So if I'd saved, I could have saved the 40 quid I've spent trying to do that and just bought Sisters of Battle in plastic, but, swings and roundabouts.
You can make my garden for me.
Yeah, true. Well, I've got ogres, because they're not going to make them anymore, so I can just do my ogres instead.
Yeah, true. Woman egg. Here we go. Sorry. I'm trying to find all these links because they keep deleting themselves on me because my iPad is a moron. Yes, I just said my iPad is a moron. I've just said that thing has feelings. Okay, so obviously we've had a lot of Sisters rumours in the past. So many Sisters rumours in the past.
I think every other rumour is a Sisters rumour.
Pretty much, yeah. Ow, I've got a dead leg now. But yeah, this is now starting to get a little bit more solid because Sisters were in Shield of Baal. So, why would they be in Shield of Baal if they were just going to leave them and phase them out?
Well, in order to be massacred and used as paint for the Grey Knights.
Oh yeah, that happened. That happened. Okay, so apparently the codex is done. The models are in production, and it's roughly a second quarter release. So that's from April to June. So actually, that makes sense. So we have all the stuff that's coming out now.
Yeah.
We then have Sisters in that period.
Yep.
And then we have Fantasy for the summer.
Yeah.
It's the Dark Eldar treatment. We built the range from the ground up. If you're newish to the hobby, before Codex Dark Eldar 5th edition, every single model in the old Dark Eldar Codex got redone, except Becht, and then they dropped him anyway.
No, Drazar, Master of Blades, also has a same terrible old model.
Oh yeah, whoops, forgot him.
But yeah, everything else was redone.
They literally built the whole range again.
Even the Carmelites, which weren't that bad.
No, and the Witches were okay.
They were metal though, weren't they? In a bit.
Yeah,
Should be.
True. So apparently it's a hardback codex with plastic kits. And
it's not online. Oh, I'm so happy. Not that I'm going to buy it, but, hey.
Yeah, there's not a lot, but it's just becoming a dull little hum of rumour that is becoming louder and louder because people are thinking, why would GW put them in Shield of Battle, which had no Grey Knights in it, by the way,
Yeah.
if they weren't going to use them as paint for Grey Knights who weren't there, or to rebuild the range.
Yeah.
So, it's possible.
I think the other thing is as well, the previous E-Codex they released was pretty sound. It included all the models from the range. You haven't got Karamazov anymore, but he's in the Inquisitors thing.
Yeah.
But it's done what it can with the range of sisters you've got.
Yeah.
And it's done quite well with it, I think.
Oh, right, fair enough. I haven't actually read the Sisters Codex. So
it's pretty complete, and it's not a bad codex either. It's all the fluff is there. It's got hundreds of pages of fluff, which
yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't read any previous editions, but I know they were mixed in with the Inquisition and.
They used to have a White Dwarf Codex.
Yeah, well, the White Dwarf Codex had no fluff, I don't think, because that would be all white.
Actually, the first episode was half fluff and then part rules, and then they put the army list in episode 2.
Oh right, okay. I didn't realise how they'd done it.
They did it over 2 episodes when the ogres got redone.
Oh right, okay.
So yeah, it was quite a while ago.
But
I don't know what they'll add to Sisters, because like if you're going to rebuild the range, yeah, you can do the Sisters, Celestians, Retributors, and all the squads that are there, but that's still a very small codex.
It is, but they're supposedly adding in new vehicles.
Okay.
They've only got 2 special characters, which is Jacobus and St. Celestine.
Well, Dark Age, they'll have 3.
Yeah, but I'm assuming they will add another character of some sort in.
Yeah. There's an Inquisitorial Priest guy, isn't there?
Yeah, you're right.
There's Celestine. They'll probably do some Super Canoness model, I guess.
Yeah, well, Celestine is kind of a Canoness / Sephiroth.
Oh, she's a Celestian, right?
Well,
so,
yeah.
Can Canonesses take a jump back?
No. Even though it's described in the War Gear as something they could take, they can't actually take it.
Ha!
So.
And then the last bit is some very up-to-date rumours regarding Necrons.
Oh, yeah.
Necron rumours are pretty solid now. It looks like the Necron Codex is out this week or next, or last, depending on whenever we get this up. And the first leak says a few new rules with no new units and the obligatory 7th edition balance.
Yeah, so
and
it's
12 new formations currently.
Yeah, so it's Grey Knights treatment, isn't it? They're not getting anything new. They might end up losing a special character or 2. A couple of new models for some older things, like flayed ones possibly.
No new models.
No new models. Alright, okay.
Well, new models.
I don't know then. It'll just be a rebalance, won't it?
Yeah, and it also says that one of the bigger changes is now that Cryptex and Necron Lords occupy a HQ slot of their own. For every HQ character in your list, you're allowed to take one of the new Cryptex Lord detachments, a la Warlock Council, which is between 1 and 5 characters each.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're getting the guard treatment with Primaris Psychers and Priests.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things have ended up that way, haven't they? Tech Marines and all that jazz. But I'm assuming there'll be Necron Overlords still, and then you'll be able to take a Lord as a 0 to 3.
Yeah, it says here that the old Royal Court are gone.
Yeah.
But are now a formation at the Calder Royal Court consisting of an Overlord, 1 or more Cryptex, and 1 or more Lords. They're all clumped into one unit, and they get +1 to RP. Now, I had heard that Reanimation Protocol was going to get changed into an army-wide invul, but it looks like that doesn't happen.
No, well, that's kind of what it is anyway. But it's more than an invul, because if you've got an invul, you've got it as well.
If your unit falls back, and you're not within range of another unit, you can't rejoin. So it's worse than having an invul.
And better at the same time, though, because it can stack with an invul and your armour.
Yes, you can use an invul and then get back up.
Or you can use your 3-up armour and then get back up.
Yeah.
So
and they get +1 to RP, which stacks with the results. They could have a 3-up RP.
Yeah, but then there's that formation now, isn't there, which is the 100-strong Phalanx.
Yeah, that's an Apocalypse thing, right?
Yeah, but still, that's like a 2-up.
Yeah, it's 100 warriors and an Overlord, and if you take a certain amount, you get a buff to your RP. And any Pharaons in your detachments must be your... They say Overlord, but I'm guessing that means Warlord.
Yeah, unless it goes the way of Tomb Kings and Vampire Counts.
Explain.
Well, you know how they have like a Hierophant or a Master Vampire thing?
Oh, Necromancer.
Yeah. So whether your General will become twice as important for your Reanimation Protocol rolls.
Well, they used to have the old phase out rule, if you remember.
Yeah.
Did you phase out?
Vaguely.
It's like when you got 25% of casualties, well, you had 25% of your army left, you lost, basically.
Yeah.
So,
But that was back with the old Necron fluff,
yeah.
which was a lot less fun.
The new fluff, that wouldn't probably work.
No.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the Necrons, and I'm looking forward to having a look at that and getting some rumours and getting the rules in, because I know Luke will probably want to have a look at that
Yeah.
as a Necron player.
Still haven't played. I've not seen Luke play ever.
I played him a couple times, but not for before I really got onto YouTube. I did one video with him, but that was a Skype video and it didn't really work. It was a Necron Tactica which turned into codex analysis. It was a mistake.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, there's a lot of people I want to do battles with, like Rowan.
Yeah.
I was doing one with James, which we'll hopefully do for the 1 year back rep. I need to speak to him. Anyway, I'm getting off topic.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, I have nothing else on this side.
Nothing really here. Possible campaigns to run and things. I'll need to get my Twitter account up and running, and I will do things on that.
Yeah, I will put the link in the description on the 2-hour fantasy battle, which was an unbelievable pain in the rear end to edit, by the way. But I put the link in there. Kieran has not tweeted anything, so we're going to try and fix that before we go. But not obviously during the video. We'll stop recording and fix it. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, that's it. So thanks for watching this video. If you managed to tolerate us rambling for the last... How long have we been on this call?
Just 40 minutes.
Well, okay, it's the last half an hour because we had a bit of an argument before we set up.
Oh, yeah.
So, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Leave any comments with your reaction to Fantasy 9, to the end times, what you reckon of it. Have you used them? Because obviously we haven't. We want to know how balanced these two characters are, if I'm honest. So yeah, just let us know, and make sure to follow Kieran on Twitter whenever he gets his acting gear.
Yeah,
which I'm hoping you
that'll
will.
be this week.
So this video should be up soon, and then we'll do our, hopefully, 1 year anniversary back there. Hopefully it'll be 2v2. Hopefully speak to James and Ben, do a big one. So, thanks for watching this video. My name is Michael. That's Imperialis with Kieran, and we will see you again.
Au revoir.